How we doing, guys? So, sitting here having my morning coffee, and for some reason, just started pondering the, I suppose, the pretty prevalent issue of people claiming natural. So, talking about people that are using substances that you're not allowed to use in various sports. So steroids, things like that, peptides, hormones, all sorts, growth hormone, claiming natural. Now, there's a lot of different people that will use these kind of substances, and a lot of people don't actually claim natural while they're using them. So, Gordon Ryan, for example, someone that is constantly under fire from the BJJ community, generally due to him being quite abrasive and some of the things he says, a lot of his political views. Obviously, now that he's in bad health and has subsequently lost a lot of muscle mass, everyone's like slamming on him, and it's quite funny to see the B team going in pretty hard on him because they do it in a very funny way. But what a lot of people are saying in the comments when they're commenting on Gordon, it's like, oh, steroids versus no steroids, and unless like how they justify how we're doing Khalil, his deterioration of his physical. But if you look at what Gordon says, he never actually claims to be a natural athlete. He does the typical deflection thing that from this kind of like Lance Armstrong playbook of anytime someone comments on his status, if he's using steroids, peptides, anything like that, he just says his default is everyone's using them. So he's basically admitting it without admitting it. So he's not the type of person I'm talking about in this particular video, right? Whereas, yeah, in my opinion, if you're competing in a sport that is drug tested, supposed to be drug tested, when they're supposed to be natural athletes, if you're using something that is prohibited in that and saying that you're, and signing up saying that you're not, then you're generally a piece of shit, in my opinion. But it's easy for me to say because I'm not competing on a world stage making millions of dollars. So you got to take that with a pinch of salt. There's a caveat. It's easy to say when you're competing for fun and for a challenge, and I make a little bit of money when I compete, but I'm not going to pay off my rent by competing. A lot of people are making their livelihood from this, and you can weigh up in this instance how much. So you're obviously morally wrong to use illegal drugs like steroids and things like that. You can't really deny that it's a moral issue, and it's not a grey area. It's morally wrong to be using these substances if you're competing against people and you're signing up under the guise that you're not. But how much are your morals worth? So if someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I'll give you this many millions of dollars," we weigh up. And again, it's easy for me to say no. Like I will make a moral stand, but then I don't have people pushing millions of dollars at me. So yeah, again, take that with a pinch of salt. Anyway, that was a bit of a digression. The people I'm talking about are people that specifically deny using any kind of androgens, any kind of hormones, any kind of steroids, that obviously are using them. And the ends that they're doing that to, right? It's usually going to be to make a shitload of money, right? So a good example of that would be the Liver King, who recently got rumbled for building an absolutely huge online brand, making millions upon millions of dollars off the back of doing like pretty insane things, and claiming natural while looking, for all intents and purposes, like a superhero, right? So it's easy to see why he would do that. Because of money, right? He's making an absolute fuck ton of money. But when you take a step back, 'cause a lot of people say, "Oh, look, he's not hurting anyone because he's not competing in anything." So in a direct manner, no, he's not hurting anyone physically. He's not competing against anyone. But you got to look at the impact that kind of image that he's putting out can have on people, and like their expectations of life, right? And then you can never really get too far away from the why of why he's doing it. So to break that down, because there's like a bit to digest in there. How are we doing, LC? So Liver King, particularly, even though this all kind of came to a head a while back, preposterously ripped guy, right? Telling everyone, "Oh, you can achieve." He didn't directly say it, but the whole premise behind it was, you can achieve this body by following these ancestral tenets, buying my supplements, living a natural life. He will say that he was trying to get people to live a healthier lifestyle, but you can't separate the fact that he was doing it to profit directly because he was selling a supplement company. So basically, he's eating an absolute metric fuck ton of raw meat that he knows no one's going to do, because who wants to eat like a pound of liver? But he says to people, okay, I can do this. This is why I look so freaking jacked. But you don't have to do this because it's disgusting. Who wants to eat that much raw liver? But if you take this pill, that will give you all the things you want. And by buying this pill, you're lining my pockets. All the while, right, you're going to have probably some relatively scrawny Jimmy from the office who's trying his best to put on muscle, right? And putting on muscle is hard. It takes time, and he's going to look at the Liver King, look, I'm doing all the shit that he's doing, and I'm still freaking skinny because I'm a regular dude. It takes time to put on muscle. I'm not like jacked. And he's led to believe that you can achieve all of the things without shooting a boatload of hormones into your ass. And again, it's that kind of that kind of juxtaposition from what he's saying, the Liver King, that is, like, I'm doing this to help people, and kind of the removal from the actual impact of what he's doing on, how we doing, the impact of what he's doing can have on people by basically giving them these expectations that they're never going to reach based off the back of a lie, right? And in a more, like say, a more direct sporting sense, Lance Armstrong is another good example because he's someone that claimed natural for years and years, and they never actually caught him. I think enough cyclists kind of came out against him in the end to make it undeniable that he was how are we doing, guys, that he was on the source. And it was mostly his behaviour on it, like the way he was kind of attacking other people and whatnot, that got people to turn on him. Now, you got to bear in mind, he was competing in a notoriously dirty sport. Cycling is renowned for having pretty much everyone on the juice. So his tactic changed from, everyone's doing it, I'm not on steroids, to everyone's on steroids. If he had come out openly from the beginning, what you would have found, obviously, is that he would have been banned, and they would probably try to brush it under the rug, and it probably wouldn't have made that much of an impact. But the fact that it was this big like cat and mouse game for them to actually try and catch him, it highlighted the drug use in the sport. So I think overall it was probably a good thing that it took that long to catch him and it wasn't swept under the rug. So you got to look at why would someone like that lie about being natural, right? So obviously the first thing is they want to compete. They're not supposed to compete while using steroids, so they're basically trying to find a loophole because they want to win. They don't just want to compete; they want to win. So they're trying to find a way to cheat, essentially. But you got to look at, again, all comes back down to they want to get paid, they want to make some money. You got sponsors that are going to pay a shitload of money to put their label on these athletes or these performers to promote their brand. So everyone's making money, and a lot of it is going to be supplement companies, which is even more of a bit of a piss take, in my opinion, right? So you have a supplement company sponsoring someone that they know full well is juiced to the gills, but they're passing off it's our supplements that are making this person achieve either these physique goals or these unbelievably incredible feats of endurance and strength. And it's one of those. It's everyone involved in it, from the person claiming natty to the people paying them to promote a product that they're insinuating creates the gains or the results of that person's achieving. They're all very morally bankrupt, in my opinion. You know, it's. I don't think there's a grey area in it in terms of the moral. Like I said at the beginning, you know, you can put a price on your morals, and when I say it's multiple millions of pounds, dollars or whatever they're getting paid in, you know, you can see why the temptation's there. The thing that really irks me, right, and I'm not like, yes, it's still a terrible thing in my opinion. Like, if you're competing in anything, saying that you're natural and you're not, you're just the worst. But when you're getting paid millions and millions and you're looking after your family, I can see why the temptation is there to do it. Now step back from that to, like, I competed in MMA many moons ago, and I competed against people that were using steroids, and we're getting paid like under $1,000, you know. So it's obviously, when you're younger, it felt like a lot of money, but it's not. You're not going to retire on it, you know. It's not. It's something that you're still going to have to fight to make more money. And I was fighting against people that were using, and like in local grappling tournaments, ones where you pay to enter, so you're not even making any money. There are people that are juiced out of their minds going into these things, and it's just that kind of thing I don't get, because the temptation for, oh, I'm going to line my pockets, I'm going to make a career, I'm going to live comfortably, you know, off the back of being basically, yeah, 100% right. Combat sports is fucking dangerous. But people saying that, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna get all these things off the back of essentially this lie, and it's worth me compromising my principles to do it. When you step down to a level where you don't even have the financial reward to do it, you're just doing it to win and to take away from someone else's potential achievement by basically being dirty when they're not, then you're just an even bigger piece of shit. Because you're just doing it to rob someone of what they earned, you know. And obviously, that's not to say, was one of these juices at Bama 5, says Harry, potentially. The one thing that you want to bear in mind, right, with this, is that I'm not saying that people are winning just because they're on steroids. Obviously, you still have to work incredibly hard, but the thing that you can't get away from is that you can work harder when you're on juice. I would assume, seeing as I'm a natural guy, if you didn't get this by the tone of everything I've said, I'm very anti-steroids in terms of I've never used them and I wouldn't use them. You know, all natty gains, boom. But that said, right, you still have to work very hard if you're on them. But you get the ability to work much harder on them, because I've trained with people that have used, and you know, after a hard round, you could be absolutely freaking goosed. Their recovery is just compared to yours, which is much more level, you know. So in the end, they're getting more high intensity training in, recovering from it better, and being able to train more. So they're increasing their abilities, their physical attributes at a faster rate than someone natural, you know, which sucks. But if the goal of that is just to rob someone of what they've earned off their own back without any support, it's even worse, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know why I got into why it popped into my head today, but I figured I'd come on here and share my thoughts on it with you guys. So to summarize that big rant into a nice succinct little soundbite, if you're competing in any sport or anything really where you claim to be natural and you're not, then you're a terrible human. If you're lining your own pockets with it, you're still a terrible human, although I can empathize with the temptation to do it when it's absolutely bucket loads of money. But no, you're still a piece of shit, in my opinion. So yeah, just try and achieve something off your own back. And if you are juicing, just be open about it. Because I have more respect for people that are yoked out of their mind, just ramming a shitload of testosterone into their body, that are open about it. Because at least you're not lying then, right? You know, and I don't really have a problem with that. Although I still think you should stay out of sport if you are juicing. But if you're just like some super jacked guy, even if the Liver King, right, had come out from the beginning and said, like, I live this lifestyle, I do all these hard things, but I also take a load of steroids, then at least people can make an informed decision before handing him over a shitload of money to buy his supplements, you know, because he's being honest then. And honesty goes a long way, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't, like say, stay out of sports if you're on gear, but if you're on gear and you're trying to sell something, at least be open and honest about it. And then let everyone, including the people that want to put sponsorship money towards you, or, you know, put their label on your product, at least they can make an informed decision. And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, because I assume that most of these companies will know the person that they're endorsing is a juice head. But more specifically, the people that are looking up to you as goals and as something they want to achieve, at least they know. You know, at least they can decide, they can differentiate. Okay, I'm trying to achieve this off my own back naturally. This person got here because of, well, aided by, I'm not going to say because of, because they obviously still work hard, aided by this. So at least they know that if they're not getting the results in the same manner, that it's not them that's broken, you know? And I think that goes a long way. There's so many people that are frustrated and giving up on their own fitness journey because they're chasing something that's pretty much impossible to do, you know? What's right? So for you watching on YouTube when this goes up afterwards, I am doing this live on Insta at the minute, so there are comments coming in which I'm having a read of. Perhaps this is why people start them. Yeah, so that's a really good point actually, Ryan. So people that use steroids to achieve something prior to making it to the big time, or going to, or even turning pro, right? So a good example of that, and I hate to throw someone under the bus, but would be like Shane Carwin, right? UFC fighter. If you look at Shane Carwin's fights pre-UFC, he was ridiculously like full in terms of like his muscularity and his physique. He was absolutely ripped. If you look at when he got to the UFC, right? So what you're assuming on that is that when he's fighting on the local scenes in America, there's probably no drug testing at all, so he can do absolutely whatever he wants. When he makes it to the UFC, at first there's the rudimentary drug testing, so a lot of people are still cheating the system, but you can immediately see like the definition on his musculature, everything, it kind of just drops off a little bit, not much, you know, because he's still a ridiculously jacked guy. But it goes to show from zero drug testing to pretty shitty drug testing, bearing in mind they tested just the day of the fight, I think it was, you know, it wasn't randomized, but there was still a noticeable difference in his physique, right? And you saw that when they started randomly drug testing people, they dropped off massively. Like they went from having the most like jacked bodies to being like dad bods pretty much over the course of one match. And a lot of people will do that, like from starting training to get to a pro level. They'll be like juiced out of their minds, realizing that when they make it to the pro circuit, they might not be able to get away with that, but they're using it to accelerate the process to getting there. And they might not achieve as much when they get there, but they may never have gotten there without the extra helping hand that they had. So yeah, that is a good point, right, that you make. A lot of people will use them on the way up just to get somewhere where when they stop using, they may not reach actually absolute pinnacle of the sport, but they'll still be making a shitload of money. Gordon Ryan. So yeah, I did mention Gordon Ryan earlier. Gordon Ryan is always juiced, in my opinion. So I think like if you look at Gordon Ryan, super jacked. I don't think he claims natural. That's the thing. If you look at what Gordon Ryan says, as I mentioned earlier, anytime someone calls him like a roid head, he just says everyone's on it. So he does the Lance Armstrong deflection. So as much as I think him using is a bit of a slap in the face to the sport, at least he's being open to a degree about it. Like he hasn't openly said I'm on steroids, but he's basically near enough said it. So while he, you know, you can make the argument that he's cheating, which, you know, he is. You can make various arguments that he's setting an example for people to follow that no one's going to be able to follow. he's not doing it under the guise of being natural, which is like a small redeeming factor in it. Although I still think it's a fucking terrible thing to do. He's still at least not claiming I'm natural. If he'd gone out and said I'm natural, and done all the things he did, and then it got found out later that he wasn't natural, that's worse in my opinion. Because at least he's not lying about the fact that he's fucking 50% hormone, you know. But yeah, random Tuesday morning rant about fake natties. So again, back to my summarizing. Don't do steroids if you're in sport, stay out of it. If you are doing steroids to sell a product, be honest about it. And then at least people can make the informed decision before they decide to line your pockets. And yeah, that's my rant. I'm not going to save this one on my feed, but I am going to upload it to my YouTube where we do the podcast. So yeah, if you missed any of this, then just click the link in the bio. Podcast will be up there. This will be uploaded later on today. And yeah, cheers for jumping in for my random Tuesday morning rants, guys. If you have anything that you'd like me to rant about, talk to you. Yes, Paul. So guys who see Paul Jackson in the comments, Paul's my boxing coach from back in the day in London, and Paul is like natural natty boxer, like a legit natty boxer. Doesn't juice or anything like that, and went back into competing. Like, how old were you, Paul, when you went back into boxing? It was at least late 40s, wasn't it? And it's been like just tuning folks up, but does it off the back of his natural talent, right? Rather than being a juice head, which is like just mad respect, because you're looking at someone that has no juice, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's training off his own back, but doing it as an older athlete as well. Which is like that's an excuse that a lot of people give for getting on the sauce. I'll be like, oh, I'm older, so I'm doing it to try and compete with my peers. So like, mad respect to Paul for doing it natural without being, you know, at an older age without being a juice head. So it kind of just fucking hits the nail on the head that you can do this, and that anyone who looks for the excuse to hit on the juice, you know, they're doing just that. They're looking for an excuse. What's those greens that you use? So. That right? So that's VIT1 supplements. Reason I hammer those greens is because left to my own devices, I tend to not eat that much in the way of like veg. Although I'm getting better with it. I would be the first to admit that my own veg intake could probably do with a bit of a boost. So hammering like a green supplement in the morning just gets me off to a bit of a head start. So that if I do tend to have a bit of a beige day, at least I know that I've got some greens in the form of a drink first thing. But yeah, check them out. I think I've got them tagged in my bio. If not, I'll send them across. It's a local dude who looks after the jiu-jitsu community, which, you know, always worth supporting because they support us. Right, guys, thanks for that. Cheers for jumping in. Mad respect. Always happy to have you guys on the channel. And like I say, I'll put up a question box after. So if there's anything you want me to like just rant aimlessly at for a while, I'll tackle that for you. All right, take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.